Beat 2, 3, 4. Hey, brother, what's going on? It's time for Niko and Thursdays with Niko, where we break everything down and then some. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, SDH family? My guy John, excited to be on. Cup of coffee number two. We are rolling this morning. Lots to do, very busy. Just as busy as this MLS midweek was like. 52 goals, a bunch of great plays. Inter Miami cannot seem to lose. The Sounders get one back. I mean, there was so much happening in MLS. Plus, we got Copa America coming. I mean, my goodness, it's just a fantastic week for soccer all around the world.
All right, so let's talk Copa to start things off. Tonight, it's a sellout, north of 70,000. Argentina and Canada here locally at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. You've got Argentina fans walking all up and down the streets of downtown Atlanta singing muchachos in front of a Hooters restaurant. It is madness, mass hysteria. From this tournament, are you a chalk guy? Are you thinking Argentina and everybody else, or do you have somebody up your sleeve?
Well, you know who I got down my sleeve. You absolutely know who I got down my sleeve. I got Colombia for the very first time in a long time. I can honestly say I am feeling the vibe. I am feeling the team. I am finally on team Nestor Lorenzo after I did not believe in the hire. And now, 18 unbeaten games later, and some of the better player pools that I can remember in a long time for this Colombia team. I'm on board, baby. I think they are third in terms of contenders. I think it goes Argentina, Uruguay, Colombia. I feel like this team has a solid back line, defensively stable. They have a lot of playmakers. Lucho Diaz is feeling himself. James Rodriguez seemed to be back into that player that perhaps at the club level isn't amazing, brilliant, but when he puts that national team shirt on, he just becomes another man. An S kind of emerges in his chest, and he becomes the Superman for Colombia. So I do believe in this Colombia team. But Argentina, they're going to be quality, man. I mean, you saw it. The way they kind of handled their friendlies was very smart. Rotated a lot of players, got some players back. So I think it's going to be a good Copa America.
When you think about Uruguay with El Loco in charge, I think that they're going to be fun just for the visual aspect of it. Even though I know a lot of folks are saying, you know, Argentina, Uruguay, et cetera, the teams to keep an eye on in this tournament. I think just the factor of seeing Marcelo Bielsa sitting on whatever he wants to sit on. He takes a drum, puts it on the side, sits on it, and just kind of looks over everything. I think for just the cultural experience alone, looking at Marcelo Bielsa and how he's working things with Uruguay, I think that's going to be a fun watch across the board, regardless of where they finish.
Yeah, and the young players that are coming up throughout Uruguay, he has that ability to give players confidence, put them in a system that works for them. I think Pelistri is a player that you're going to be want to watch in this Copa America. I feel like Nunez still has a lot to prove at the national team level, and he seems to be willing to do it. And he's looked good. He's looked like he doesn't need nine chances to put at least a couple away. So in terms of set pieces, they've been outstanding. And defensively, we all want to talk about El Loco's ability to just play beautiful soccer, play offensive soccer. I think because of the individual players and the stability that Jimenez has given that back line, that Uruguayan team, it's pretty, well constructed and well coached. So they're going to be difficult to beat. I mean, you put Argentina above them simply because of the Messi factor, the fact that they're the World Cup champions. But Uruguay is right there, man, in this Copa America in terms of who you think is going to take it.
All right. So you mentioned Facundo Pelistri. Who else, for folks that may not necessarily be the hardcores that will watch anything, any place, anytime, twice on Tuesday, who are some of those other players to watch that aren't the big names and the big ticket items that you would steer folks to watch in this tournament?
Yeah, I think Luciano Rodriguez is a 20-year-old player that's going to be interesting in this one. I think that maybe if you don't really follow this team, a guy like Olasa is another player that's going to be focused for this Uruguayan team, Araujo as well. Those are the players that kind of come to mind in terms of those that you might not know, because everybody knows Betancourt. Everybody, MLS players, MLS followers might know Brian Rodriguez, who has been very good for Uruguay. So you got the Nandeses, the usual suspects for this Uruguayan team. But I think Luciano Rodriguez is probably the one I would key on for those that maybe don't follow Uruguay as much.
All right. So who's going to be the biggest surprise and who's going to be the biggest bust?
Man, that's a tough one. I think the biggest surprise for a lot of people is going to be Colombia still. Just the other day, I was hearing a podcast that was kind of talking about the U.S. and how they played Colombia and they got beat, but then they played a better Brazil. Brazil is not better than Colombia right now. Let me just say that right now. So I think Colombia is going to be a big surprise. I feel like a team like Venezuela
Vamos,
might.
Venezuela!
I think Venezuela might surprise some people. I don't think that they realize the tough quality midfield that this Venezuela team has.
Right.
They have a lot of young prospects. I don't think that if you haven't been following the CONMEBOL qualifiers and you haven't been following what's kind of happened with Venezuela over the last couple of years, you might not realize that there's a lot of talent. So Venezuela could be one that's going to surprise my biggest bust, which is going to be Mexico. And I say that simply because Mexico has the huge fan base. They're going to be home team every game. Doesn't matter where they play. You can put them in. Doesn't matter where you put them in the States. They're going to fill up with all of their crowd, all of their potential. But I look at that roster, man, and I feel like they have no grit in the midfield. You've seen it in the friendlies. It's so easy to progress the ball against that team. I don't think the 4-3-3 fits Mexico as well as Lozano thinks it does. I think that there's still question marks in terms of who's going to be that goal scorer for Mexico. I haven't seen enough out of Santi Jimenez. I think Quinones is a quality player, the Colombia naturalized Mexican winger. I think he's going to be a good player. He's been great for America, but can he put it together for his national team? They're a little bit of a liability defensively. Arteaga on the left side defensively in the left back position has been a highway for teams to get over on Mexico. And then you put them on the side of players that don't help them defend either, and it just becomes a huge problem because you have Quinones on that side. You have Charlie on that side helping out. None of those players really scream defending. So I just feel like there's a lot of holes on this Mexican team. They have a lot of pressure regardless of, because there's pressure on the coach. There's pressure on the players. So I really do think they're going to be the team that's going to flame out.
So you mentioned El Tri. Let me ask you, what about Chucky Lozano? I know we're all over the board, but what about Chucky Lozano signing with San Diego?
I think it's a fantastic move by San Diego. I think it's a fantastic move for Lozano. Fans might not think so, and they're going to jump on him and say that he's retired, that he's washed. My son, Mexican Colombian, he's like, oh, Chucky's washed. He's going to come to MLS. I don't think it's that, black or white. I think it's a great move for a player that did as much as he could. Now he has the opportunity to be the face of a club and actually back it up, something that he hasn't been able to do. He was Napoli's biggest signing. He came over. He couldn't really put it together, back up the expectations. PSV, similar situation there. Maybe didn't come in as the guy, but he came as a big signing, and he did some. I don't think he had terrible performances. I just don't think he played to the expectation that he had, that most fans had when he came to Chucky Lozano. So I think it's a fantastic move, being the face of a club, following the Carlos Vela steps and maybe a more prominent time in his career. I think it's a good move for all teams concerned. And now we'll see what happens with the coaching, because that's going to be a huge component. Is it going to be Piojo? Is it going to be someone more MLS friendly? Who's going to be that guy that's going to take this team to the next level? But I like the signing. I really do. There's nothing for the league or the club that says I'm all in than a guy like Chucky Lozano coming to MLS.
So if your gut talked to you about this, is it going to be Piojo would be your first manager to get you in the door, get you noticed, and attract talent, or are you going in a different direction?
I think so, man. I'm hearing that's the guy, and he makes all kinds of sense because he knows the game. He has been in situations where he's kind of brought up teams and made them successful. He's passionate. He knows the Xolos and Tijuana's soccer scene. And when you got San Diego having the ability to go get young talent, academy talent in Tijuana, having a guy like Piojo that would be one hell of a recruiter as well, just makes all kinds of sense. He has a house in Tijuana, which is, I don't know, hour away, couple hours away from San Diego. And again, when you're talking about a big, I don't know if I want to call it an ego, but a big talent like Chucky, having a guy like Piojo taking all the bullets, the heat, I just think he works. He makes sense. So for me, yes, I think Piojo would be and is the best option for that San Diego team.
All right. So now that we've gone into Major League Soccer, see how we transition there?
I like that. Look at that. Just absolutely throwing me into open space right there. I like it. Very good quarterback.
Transition. We sit there, run the option a little bit, make sure that you get 34 wham. You got everything there. The linemen are sitting there, and they make the hole for you, and you get the first down, move the sticks. Last night, it seemed like early on in the Eastern Conference, there was no interest in scoring at all. And then as the night grew on, it's like if you were a 7:30 Eastern game, everybody's just like, nah, we'll get back to you. Starting with the 7:45 Eastern game with Philly and Cincy, and then through the rest of the evening, all hell broke loose. What sticks in your mind? We'll start there before we dive into Seattle and Houston specifically. But what sticks in your mind after all of the madness that happened last night, starting with the 7:45, the 4:45 with Philly and Cincy? You had 7 goals there. You had 8 with Dallas and Minnesota. It was chaos starting at 4:45 for you, man.
I think the Philadelphia Union's descent and free fall. I mean, it is tough to watch Philadelphia going back to back, terrible games back to back, games where you're giving up not just the draw, but dropping points at the end of the game. They seem to have no way to fix what's wrong. There seems to be no fight for this Philadelphia team. When we go back just to the weekend, when you're playing a Miami team that has 9 players and you can't hold the lead, and you allow Alonso to conduct the ball from midfield all the way to your goal. And I think it was Glesnes who was on him. The last defender can manage to at least push him, pull him, do something, kick him, take the red. Don't allow him to just blow past you and then give the win to an Inter Miami team that had none of their stars on their side. And then you move to this week and you play a good game and you get a couple of goals and Bueno gets on the scoreboard and he seems to be going your way. And you can't prevent Luciano Acosta, Lucho, from just picking up the ball in zone 14 of the field and dribble through the inside of your 18 and put that away. I mean, it's just mind-boggling that even when you feel like the Philadelphia Union had everything going their way to win this one, or at least draw it, they once again draw points. I know that Jim just got an extension and there's no coaching controversy, but oh my God, then how do you fix it? How do you fix it? Because I understand that Cincinnati is a quality team and they've looked good. My goodness, has Kevin Kelsey been unbelievable? And we know what Luciano Costa provides, but just Philadelphia, that's what sticks on my mind. That the inability to just win games, to just show me that this is a squad that's been together for a long time, that's been coached but with the same system for a long time. That is just probably the biggest problem and the thing that sticks out in my mind the most out of yesterday when it comes to the Eastern Conference.
Western Conference, obviously, Georgi Mihailovic ends up with a Hattie. Did not have that on my scorecard. You end up with, I mean, hey, look, Dallas getting 5 on Minnesota. We're sitting there and we're talking about how, Minnesota is the second coming of the second coming with a 32-year-old coach that wears a T-shirt and a sweater vest. Or RSL, who is dancing with Sporting Kansas City and 7 goals in that one. You mentioned teams in trouble. You mentioned Philly. I think Sporting is right there with you. Dallas got a bit.
Hey, I warned you guys about Minnesota. It's like that buzz that's never that's late, but it's always there. You knew that they were going to have a problem. You knew that they were going to make you want to rip your hair out, Minnesota fans. I mean, I'm sorry, but I mentioned it. It seemed like they were overperforming, quite honestly, in the XG or in general overall play. I like what they were doing, and I said this. I mean, I like the fact that they're simplistic with the style of play. They want to put it together. They want to have a lot of guys behind the ball, make it difficult to be broken down. But it was coming, guys. It was coming. This team was gonna hit a big obstacle, a speed bump the size of your house, and that's what's going on right now. It on reality, this Dallas team after Niko Steves, yes, maybe they got a little bit of a, I don't know, push, a little bit of a new air, new oxygen in that locker room. And you knew that Musa was going to be a strong player and he was going to do a lot of things. But for them to put 5 on Minnesota the way they did, it just seems like they collapsed within each other. I understand that they're missing players. I get that. I'm not denying that. I'm not dismissing the fact that Minnesota was missing players in this one, was missing players against Seattle when they lost to Seattle here at home. But at the end of the day, Minnesota was going to have some issues. It wasn't going to be just about the vibes and a new system working. Now that there's enough tape on you, now that people are starting to understand what you like to do, and you're missing a couple of players, it was just coming. So I think Colorado is maybe a surprise to some. We all were on the hype train at the beginning, then we all jumped off. Maybe 5 weeks into MLS, now everybody's back on. But I think it says this last score against St. Louis, this 3-0 win, it says more about St. Louis, man. I mean, the sort of mistakes that they had, Berkey, an unlikely mistake when he throws the ball right at Mihailovic and he puts it away. Defensively, so poor, so anemic. There was no man marking. There was just no power, no drive to win second balls. They're going to miss Pompeo. They are going to miss Pompeo. Had been, praising him all season long. There's just no one else that could do what Pompeo did. So although I do give Colorado a lot of credit, I want to say that it was more telling to me that St. Louis is going to have to figure out and do a lot of moves in this summer window to try to maintain some of that success that they now kind of set in expectations for all their fan base.
Well, because, you're basically the Red Bulls Midwest with what you did when you brought in Bradley Carnell. You knew what you were getting into with Pfannenstiel and the kind of talent that you wanted to bring in because of the system that's there. And I mean, the example that we give, it's like calling up the kid from Tacoma Rainiers to give the start for the Mariners, and you don't have a book on him. He goes 5 2/3, gives up an earned run. Manager pulls him with runners on base because the second time through the lineup, folks started to get him timed out. First year with St. Louis, you get the pie plate. You get the Captain America shield for the Western Conference, but because you played in back-to-back games against somebody, you got bounced because you got found out. This is year 2 of getting found out. That pitcher's back through the lineup, and everybody knows what to expect with City SC.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of correlates what we were just talking about. Minnesota and St. Louis got found, one quicker than the other, but this Ramsey system kind of is falling apart because of the similar things that St. Louis one did. When you're playing a system and somebody figures out your system, then you're done. Because if you have to all of a sudden rely on individual talent and guys that maybe are going to go off that system that you're trying to put together or off the plan because you need that in MLS and you don't have that, then that's a problem, right? On one side, Minnesota, I'm sorry to tell you guys, but Dotson's not a guy that's going to be taking over. Will Trapp isn't either. And on their end as well, even a guy like Lewin, who's been as good as he has, he gets that PK, misses it, and all of a sudden just things are falling off from you, and he doesn't have the power, the influence to get away from that bad moment and just kind of put it together elsewhere. So similar situations there, just lack of talent, lack of just ability to do something different than what you set it out to do initially in the game. You got to be able to adapt within the game what the teams are providing you with. So that's the issue with both St. Louis and Minnesota.
Yep. RSL put 4 on Kansas City. I still think Peter Vermeer's career dissipation light's kind of waving off to the side here. LA beat NYC and Portland beat San Jose 2-1. Let's circle back to Houston and Seattle. What happened at Hell in a Shell in a 2-2 draw?
Yeah, man, that was a crazy game. I mean, Seattle is a team that their biggest issue is lack of consistency. They can put it together for 30 minutes at a time. They could put it together for 50 minutes at a time. They could put it together in 90 like they did with Minnesota. But can you put those 90 into the next 90? They just haven't been able to do that. In this one, the first half, maybe it wasn't as bad as people made it sound in social media. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't great, but I understood what Brown was trying to do in terms of the rotation, the approach to this game. But then a couple of mistakes happened, and Houston gets ahead. I mean, mistakes will happen, and that's just part of the game. But Obed Vargas gives up a very easy ball right on top of the 18. It becomes a quick turnaround. One thing's lead to another. Houston ends up being right in front of goal. Stephen Fry, once again, can he do better on that play? Absolutely. That gives the 1-0. Then in the second one, Yammer Gomez-Andrade tries to head it out, heads it right into a Houston midfielder that just creates a quick counter. There's just no balance. Jay Bell, as much as he had a decent game in that particular play, you got to check your shoulder. You got to know where the runner is. Doesn't check it. Blessing all of a sudden had 1. Now he has 2, and just the game changes. You have to give credit to Brian Smetzer for saying whatever he said at halftime. Paul Rothrock, who was one of the players that's kind of stepped up in the last couple of games, he talked about everything that Brian was trying to get to when he came to the halftime. He really got the troops going. Then you start the second half, and you have a response. And that you have to give credit to the coach. You have to give credit to the players. Things change around. Things turn around for Seattle. Whenever a guy like Paul Rothrock is doing as good as he has, it provides a spark. And he's provided a spark in the last 2 games. He had a good game at Minnesota when he came in the first minute because Alex Roldan was put in concussion protocol. He gets the well-deserved second start in this one, and I thought he was good. And that demeanor, that effort is what provides the equalizer for Seattle, or the first one, to kind of push the equalizer in the second one. But Paul Rothrock, relentless. He gets over Mikhail, I believe, gets that goal. And then after that, kind of things change. The feel of the team changed with that first Paul Rothrock goal. Then all of a sudden, there's a set piece. You put it into the 18 where Jackson Reagan gets to it. They both score. Fantastic to see it. kind of a story for your listeners. That was the first time since they both played at Seattle United, which is just a club in Washington, that they both scored. Both of these guys have grown up together. They've played club soccer level together. So it was kind of cool seeing both of them score, change the game, get the equalizer. But there's still a lot for the Seattle team to fix and to find some consistency and to find some balance. But a point on the road, the way and fashion that you did it, I think really helped this Seattle team that has to turn around and hope to put that momentum into a home game against Dallas here on the weekend.
I was going to say, we got 2 games to talk about in cliffhanger. Seattle and Dallas. Right now, juice boxes have Seattle at a -169. Draws almost a +300. And FC Dallas is a +463 in the composite. The other game on the board worth talking about, RSL hosting LAG at Rio Tinto. Real Salt Lake a -132. Draws is +312. LAG on the road is a +301.
Give me the draw 312 and show me the compos on the goals, because this is going to be a goal fest, baby. I see it. I feel it. Hopefully it doesn't let me down.
All right. So 2.5 is a -223. 3.5 is a +112. So it flips at 3.25. +3.5 on your over-under is a +112. 4.5 is a +248.
Give me the 4.5 and the draw. The 4.5 and the draw. That is a whole lot of goals. That you're talking about 6 goals in that one. I feel it. I see it. Let's see if he pays out. But it's going to be a good one, man. I mean, LA Galaxy have looked good even without Ricky, and that's important. Diego Fagundes has really done a good job at giving you a lot of those Ricky-ish components. I think Gabriel Peck is absolutely finding his feet in MLS. Pencil's back. I mean, that's a dangerous from 4. Jovic, of course, giving you that extra punch, that extra TNT. And then you go against RSL. Oh, Carlos Gomez. Can you get any faster? Can you do any more? Can you be any more fun? My goodness, that guy, just unbelievable. He's one of those guys that's made me look really good. I said this was going to be the Carlos Gomez year, and boy, has it. Boy, has it been his year. Completely unbelievable. Juju side yesterday, man. All it takes is giving him room and space, and he's gonna burn you. And then that chip over the goalkeeper to just, I mean, my goodness, he's feeling it. And that makes RSL so dangerous, because when you get a guy like Chicho, you get a guy like Carlos Gomez, and then you got either Barajas or Luna, who Luna played a fantastic game. Luna in distribution, Luna understanding spacing, Luna's ability to lead the transition play was unreal in this one. So RSL, LA Galaxy, that's the game to watch. And on the other side, Sounders, Dallas, that's going to be another draw, in my opinion. I don't expect Pedro Del Vega to be back in this one just yet. JP had a couple of minutes because they were resting him, rotating him for this one. No Raul Ruiz in this one either. Jordan Morris got the go at 9 again. I continue to say that there's nothing that Jordan cannot provide you on the wing that he's providing you at the 9. People are calling Raul wash. I understand that, that, you know, he hasn't looked good at times, but I still believe that 75% Raul at the 9 is better than 100% Jordan at the 9, because Jordan can do so many more things on the wing. If there were other options at the wing, and there were other options where it's not just Leo and Christian Roldan, maybe I would buy into the fact of you putting Jordan up top. But right now, the way the team is set up, I continue to think Raul is the right option at the 9. So we'll see how that goes against Dallas, but I do see a draw in this one.
All right, so 4Card asks, is Raul still around after the summer window?
Absolutely, 110%. There is nothing that tells me that this Sounders team is willing to go and get another DP. And if you're not going to go and get another DP, it makes no sense to get rid of Raul. Like 0 cents. Because you're not going to put that sort of expectation on you. People are going to want another DP if you're getting rid of one. So the easiest solution is just allowing that contract to finish, allowing Raul to continue to be either a super sub or continue to be a starter as he has. He's still your leading scorer. He's still a locker room guy. He's still someone that is very influential for this club. Therefore, if there was a willingness and I saw a way where this Sounders team was going to go and get you the DP of the future, I would say yes. They're going to try to move Raul. They're going to make some room. But without that, it's just not going to happen. Not to mention the fact that, quite honestly, when it comes to a Sounders team that has had as many issues as they have, how much are you willing to really bring right now when you're having such a hard time even staying within the playoff line? And I've said it once, I've said it twice. I think that maybe Open Cup can give this team something to hang their hat on. But other than that, man, it's difficult to just say, like RSL, right? They're looking so great. They're looking so good. If I bring someone else, I'm for sure going to have a title. That's different. Seattle is barely staying relevant right now. It's pointless to go get a DP at this moment in time. There's just no reason for it. And there's just no ability to.
And so 4-card follow-up. So it's a philosophy thing and not a money thing?
No, I think it's a money thing.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of both. Okay. And that's a great question. I think that the transfer budget is going to be constructed to the way that you're going to be able to use all of that money in 2025 when you're for sure going to be able to open up to DP spots, Raul's and Albert's. So you want to have all that money for that moment in time. You're going to have the U22 initiative, U22 initiative open at that time as well. Right now, what you're going to do is try to bring something that you can fit into Javi's salary. What was opened up in the books, you're going to bring a guy that's going to be able to help you within that range of money, and you're going to roll with the team you have. You're going to hope that Pedro de la Vega at some point gets back in business and is able to give you maybe some extra wins. But aside from that, I don't see anything else happening. The Seattle Sounders group as well have just recently bought the ring from the old ring. Now they're all going to be under the umbrella of Seattle Soccer, if you will. And that, I'm sorry to tell you, but that's an investment. That's money that's coming from the owners. That's money that's going to affect in some way the ability for the Sounders to go get guys. So because of all these factors, I don't think that they're going to go in the summer and go get a big guy, right? So it is a money thing. The philosophy, maybe 25% of that kind of goes along those lines, but I do think that is mainly about money.
All right, so one more question before you go. We started with Copa, we'll end with Copa. What do you think it means in the grand scheme of things to have the United States hosting Copa America?
Say it again?
What do you think it means to have the United States being the host country for Copa America? What do you think it means for the soccer community to have the United States hosting the Copa?
Yeah, well, and thank you for clarifying it, because it could go so many ways, right? I mean, for the soccer community, it's a well-deserved prize, a well-deserved earned reward for loving the game, for being as loyal to you guys as clubs, for the growth and development of MLS in all divisions, whether it's younger divisions all the way up to the club level. It could mean that for those that are a little bit more morbid, you could say that CONCACAF and CONMEBOL have realized that the money's in the States, and if you put a tournament here and there's so much following from every single nationality, it's going to create a different field, is going to create a lot of money. I mean, you saw that Colombia USA game. There was more yellow than there was, white and blue and stripes and stars, right? So that's kind of what you're realizing, is that there's a lot of money to be had here. But I do believe that it is a reflection of the amount of commitment that has been put into soccer in the U.S. community in general. I think that is going to help the game huge. The young players, the young kids that are going to be watching these tournaments are going to have a different feel for the game. Those memories that I had as a kid when there were tournaments in Colombia, you guys are going to have, these kids are going to have, and that's going to push the idea of soccer. So I think it is a transcendent moment. I think that is in a perfect step stool to the climax of the World Cup here. So I just think it's a huge moment. It's a historic moment for U.S. soccer and the U.S. soccer community.
All right, so give me the plug. I know you got to jump because you got Soccer Bar and Pulso Sports. What's going on?
I do. We got Soccer Bar here in about 10 minutes. I might have to do it from the car because I got to go to a whole other place after this. Probably not safe, but I'm going to have somebody take me. So just by the way. So check it out. We're going to be talking about a lot of this. We're going to be talking about Copa America, what's ahead, the games start today, Pulso Sports as well. We're going to not have anything till tomorrow when the team comes back. Players are off. But tomorrow we're going to be at the training facility, Swedish facility. I still can't get it right. Providence in Swedish.
There you go.
Training facility. And so we're going to be down there talking to the guys, see what the feel is after that 2-2 draw in the upcoming game against FC Dallas.
All right, my friend, get out of here because you got stuff to do. We'll catch up with you next week.
All right, my friend. Have a good one.
All right, Niko Moreno, Pulso Sports and the Soccer Bar. He's got stuff to do. He is the busiest man in the Northwest Four Card. You are absolutely correct. So